Hello, guys, and happy Easter to those who celebrate. And I want to start this video that actually sums up the events of this pre-Easter week in Ukraine with the most important achievement from my Ukrainian perspective. And that is justice delivered to the Russian missile brigades, one located in Kursk region, another located in Ivanovo region, but both responsible for that war crime, for that double tap on Sumy. In times when it seems like everything turned to the worse, when there are very few leaders that can take any responsibility, we have the Ukrainian armed forces who know how to do the job, who know how to bring this lasting peace on the planet, and that is to defeat, demilitarize Russia, and deliver justice. I don't know how come in this in these years, it is no more fashionable to speak about values. Whenever you start saying something like freedom, human life, democracy, people can actually mock you. Guys, this is the basis of our survival. And follow the example of Ukraine. Do not obey in advance. Do not give up on what is the core of you as a personality or as a nation. And let's have a look at this most important event, starting from the revenge and finishing with the failed negotiations. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the collapse of the Kremlin, Putin in The Hague, or in the hell where he belongs, subscribe, we will discuss that on the channel sometime soon. You remember that on Palm Sunday, Russians attacked Sumy. People were walking to the churches. Dozens of Ukrainian civilians were killed by Russian missile and actually Russian missiles because that was a double tap. And a double tap, according to all the rules of war, yes, such exist, Geneva Convention, for example, is a war crime. But the American President Donald Trump decided to describe it as a mistake, but not a mistake of his office for trying to negotiate with Russia when they constantly humiliate a ceasefire, and Donald Trump himself, but he once again tried to describe it as a Russian mistake and think about what are the other ways to influence Russia, what are the other sanctions can be lifted, and so on and so forth. The Ukrainian armed forces took this mission in their own drones and sent them directly to Kursk region and then to Ivanovo region, where two Russian missile brigades are located, the ones that were responsible for that attack. What is good with modern surveillance, with all that satellite images, it is not difficult to identify war criminals. And with each month, the Ukrainian intelligence is becoming more and more experienced in identifying and neutralizing them, even deep inside the Russian area. What is also good, by targeting these objects, we neutralized big arsenals of Russian Iskander missiles, and that directly means that hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent Ukrainian lives saved. Remember, by defeating and demilitarizing Russia, we save millions of people. I am not exaggerating. Trust me, I'm Ukrainian, and I actually see that with this Trump's chaotic behavior, with constant violence coming from Russia, their hybrid wars against your countries, more and more people understand that. And I receive a lot of comments where you actually state that you've changed your mind towards Trump. That's understandable. Things happen. That you feel more worried about the future of Europe. Yes, you're right. Don't let your normalcy bias stop you from making some important decisions. Right now is the time to defeat Russia, because according to the Institute for the Study of War, they have less than 1 year left. They don't have enough resources. They don't have enough people. And this total support from the North Korea state is a very vivid illustration of that. That is not by accident. Subscribe to see the collapse of Russia, the collapse of North Korea, because all of that evil is somehow interconnected. And share these videos if you share my opinion. According to Reuters, according to various intelligence services, right now Russia is fully dependent on the supplies from North Korea. And I think China and of course Iran, we all know that. But North Korea is number one. And do not think it's just a supporter, a partner. Right now, more than 50% of all the missiles that they use are of North Korean production. Russia paid $20 billion during these 20 months to North Korea. I believe like Kim Jong-un never saw such money, even with all his corruption and other stuff. But literally, Russia gave $20 billion to the budget of North Korea, previously the most isolated and the most sanctioned country in the world. So just this move, just this economic support of Kim Jong-un's regime could have been a reason to turn against Russia, but not for Trump. Because he also likes Kim Jong-un. How could I forget? And by the way, he is another reminder of that diplomatic failures of the Donald Trump. What does it mean if I say there was Donald Trump? I know it's not correct, but maybe there is some hidden Freudian meaning that I have when I say it. And $20 billion, North Korea supplied from 4 to 6 million artillery shells to Russia. And there are lots of other things. Not only shells that they supply a lot of other weapons and 11,000 soldiers fighting in Europe. Is it okay? Isn't that an escalation? Isn't that a red line crossed? And if I see that, if you see that, if we realize that, okay, it's not the proper reaction, don't you think China, North Korea, and Russia understand that? Don't you think they see it as a weakness? Because I do. And negotiations failed because there was no reason for the negotiations apart from Donald Trump's election campaign. There was literally no reasons for that. Russia keeps targeting everything they can, and actually since the start of this so-called ceasefire that actually ended, they managed to kill a lot of Ukrainian civilians, lots of innocent children, and the world do not get used to that. Especially think about that on Easter. It's not about eggs, it's not about chocolate bunnies. It's not about the cross on the forehead of Marco Rubio that shows your Christian values or human values. And okay, this was a process of constant humiliation of Donald Trump, his effort. We knew it won't work, but we played by the rules. And Russia did not. They kept asking for sanctions to be lifted. They wanted to buy Boeings for the frozen assets. I am sorry, why? These are frozen assets because you commit genocide in Ukraine, not because we wanted to keep this money for you to buy Boeing. Do you think Trump will allow that? Let me know in the comments below, please. I personally think he will, and he can't wait to lift the sanctions. And this will be a very bad precedent, but I am not sure he will finish his term with this kind of attitude, not just towards Ukraine, Russia, Canada, or Denmark, but there are lots of things that are a mess, starting with tariffs that can actually ruin the global economy, and these consequences will be deadly for Russia because they are already on the brink of the collapse. And you know, I didn't comment much about this Witkoff's plan because Witkoff is not a diplomat. He is not, like, in any normal situation, he would not have these rights, but he kept traveling to the Kremlin to put down the demands of Kremlin and then to repeat them first to Donald Trump and then to this wide audience. And this man does not have any knowledge about Europe, Eastern Europe, Russia, Ukraine, because when he speaks about the regions that we, for no reason, I don't know why, should give to Russia, he cannot name these regions. He keeps repeating Russian speaking. I'm sorry. All of the United States are English speaking. Do you belong to England? Do you really think you belong to England because you speak English? Ukraine was Russified, Belarus was Russified, Kazakhstan was Russified, Moldova was Russified, all of the Soviet Union was Russified, the Baltic countries were Russified. So there are lots of people who speak Russian, but they do not identify as Russians, same as Americans don't identify as Australians, and Australians don't identify as Canadians, but you all speak English. According to Trump's logic, that's... what am I talking about? That must be a euphemism, Trump's logic. Anyway, let's come back to this Witkoff's Moscow vision of future, which is like a total capitulation of Ukraine, giving up regions that Russia does not control. Can you imagine that? Like, we give up our people, our schools, our hospitals, and make our soldiers leave our territories just because Witkoff, Mr. Nobody, said so. And Russia rewrote the constitution. I'm sorry. Russia rewrote the constitution to make Putin Tsar. Maybe you should advise Russia to rewrite its constitution again if they like rewriting constitutions that much. That would be a strong advice from a strong president, but not keep reshaping Ukraine. We have already tried not to escalate when Crimea was annexed, Donetsk and Luhansk, and look how Russia returned back to take more. If Russia gets 5 regions of Ukraine because of all the war crimes it committed, why won't it continue? Why? Because Trump won't let it. Come on, don't make me laugh. And even just like from this purely military point of view, all the best defense lines are in that Ukrainian regions. But these are Ukrainian regions. Let's not even talk about the defense lines that we will lose if we... I am sorry, this is total BS. If we did not capitulate back in 2022, we are not going to do that now when we have all of our experience. We have the strongest army in Europe, and we do have allies. And we have a lot of the allies among the American people. I know that, and I know how difficult it is for you too. I know. And people of Ukraine separate Trump and what he says and the American people. And very often we are worried for you too. You know, there is one quote that circulates the Ukrainian media, and that is of Timothy Snyder, a famous historian who dedicated a lot of his work and attention to Ukraine, and we are very grateful for that. And he speaks about one episode when he met a lady in a war-torn Kharkiv region. She came up to him, and did you know what she said? I feel so worried for you, people of America. I feel so worried. It's difficult for you. And he realized that perhaps something very bad is going on right now if a person from a war-torn zone feels sympathy to a man from America. Be careful, be attentive, and thank you for your support, and we're very in support and understanding. Remember to check my new video on my new channel. I'm always happy to see you there. I read all the comments because they inspire my future videos on both channels, so give me your ideas here. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. Thank you for all the good Easter wishes. And let's remember that all of these holidays are not about bunnies, eggs, and fun. They are about justice. Justice is central for any religion and for any normal human being. And we are fighting for that. Subscribe to my X, I'm fighting that. To my Instagram, I share more of my everyday life there. To my Threads and my Blue Sky, the community is amazing. And we have a really great Discord. And check our merch shop for lots of good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. But most importantly, thank you for standing with us. Thank you for sharing our values. And I'm so grateful that in our community, we do not laugh when someone says that respect matters, dignity matters, human life matters, freedom matters, democracy matters. I love you for that a lot. Slava Ukraini!